D&D from A to Z, spells for you and spells for me. We will see what we will see today. Locals galore and monsters roar, nerds adore forevermore. Let's explore some ancient lore. Hey, hey. Hello, welcome. My name is Jordan Maywood and I am the Alphabetical DM. This is episode 11. We did it. Yeah, I should note at the top that I forgot to sort of review what I say at the top of the show, so I'm doing this off the top of my head. Yes. What do I normally say? See, if you listened to the watched, forgot this is not a podcast. If you watch the first 10 episodes, you may know, it may have come up that I recorded those all in sort of one batch over the course of a few weeks, and then I sort of had them there ready to go and let them play over the course of 10 weeks. I will say, from my perspective, as I am recording this in the past, as technically all recordings are in the past, 5 episodes have dropped, and I've got some good responses, or at least no negative responses. The very first YouTube comment I got on an Alphabetical DM video was a positive one. Wow. You, watching this now, can do likewise in the Underdark down below. Huh? Or leave a negative one. Hey, be the first to leave a negative one. Wouldn't that be nice? No, it wouldn't be nice. It would be the opposite of nice. Okay, so, what is this thing? It is a D&D related YouTube channel in which I will be nonsensically reviewing every monster, spell, and location that exists within the Forgotten Realms, while simultaneously having some sort of main subject, which I believe... Oh, look at this. I'm pointing to it. Hey. Yeah, that is what is happening. I also decided in episode 1 that I wasn't going to explain all of these things every single episode, and yet I'm doing so. I feel like I'm a little rusty because I haven't recorded in a while, so I'm loosening it up here is what's happening. I assume. Is everything recording? Yeah, did that once. The classic thought you were recording and didn't. I did have one of those episodes. Managed to salvage it. I don't know if I brought this up. By downloading, because I'm also streaming this simultaneously to Twitch for some reason. I don't know why. I probably don't have to do that. And you know what? I'm curious if it screws up the recording as well, because I noticed in the recordings of the first 10 episodes, there was the odd time, which I think maybe I fixed closer to the end, but we'll see, where the audio would sort of drop out a little bit from time to time. Like in a 20-minute episode, it would maybe do it once or twice, which is annoying, but, you know, comes with the territory, I do believe. The territory of doing YouTube things. On XSplit is the program I use, because my sort of theory is, if I'm going to do this on the regs and have an episode come out every week, I need to make it easy for myself, and that means no editing. So this is all just one stream of ridiculous consciousness, which, on that note, I should note that just about everything I say in this will be opinions, because when it comes to D&D, one of the great things about it is you could have 2 different games run using the same basic rules and have completely different experiences based on how the DM handles things. So these are just ways in which I, personally, the Alphabetical DM, would handle things. I think, without further ado, let's get into the main subject on that note. I feel like I've said on that note 3 times already. Downhill. See, rusty, did I mention? Wow. This is exciting, isn't it? Look at this. This is like an Excel document. This is just the sort of high level jam-packed with excitement, on the edge of your seat things that the Alphabetical DM will bring you. Okay, so the main subject today was a CR level and monster modification. So, in Dungeons and Dragons, there's something called the CR level, which is, oh shoot, what the hell does that stand for? Jesus. Challenge rating. Challenge rating. Oof. Huh? Huh? Sometimes things fall out. Anyways, challenge rating level, which is sort of famously or infamously not 100% accurate 100% of the time. It's just, and I don't blame anyone for that. This is not a blame situation. It's just with the sheer amount of variables in Dungeons and Dragons, from how many players to what their races and classes are, to how good they are, how many are they veteran players, are they new players, what scenario you're in, what the battlefield is like. It's basically impossible to do challenge rating accurately. And what it does, though, well, is I think gives you a good base, a decent base to work with, and you can plus it or minus it. What I've done here, what I've sort of made here, is sort of an idea I have refined since my first campaign. Basically, I found online a list of average stats for each CR rating. So, for example, level 1 CR, your average proficiency is 2. The average hit points of monsters at that CR is 20 plus or minus 10. The average AC, 12 to 13. Your average plus to attack, so what you're going to be adding to your attack rolls, is plus 3. Your average damage is 3 per round, which is, these are two different stats. Your average damage per hit, your average damage per round. It doesn't play so much until you start getting extra attacks, but it does matter. So 2 to 6. Number of attacks, which in my first go around at this chart, it was not something I was taking into account. Number of attacks, so that does can make a significant difference. So the average saving throw, very important, and the average max save taking. Oh, okay. So this is when what the hell? Average save when roll. Okay, so this is the plus 2 spells. Okay, so that makes sense. Anyways, so this is basically the average of CR at every level, and even this with the plus and minuses is just sort of something I use for a baseline. Basically, the reason I made this is because I want players to be able to fight monsters that would normally be too powerful them, because I want the monster to fit the scenario and not the scenario to fit the monster. So basically, in my campaign, if I want... I try not to go too crazy. Like, I'm not going to, at level 1, throw in a dragon at them, or a lich or anything like that. But if at level 1 I want them to face... what's sort of a mid-level monster, like a hobgoblin, or probably would have difficulty with that. But if I adjust the stats to match the average, can do a little better. On the opposite side of the scale, if they're at, level 17, and I want to make that same hobgoblin more powerful, I can use things like this. I probably more likely use different, not legendary actions, but different abilities that the hobgoblin might not have, for example. So basically, this whole thing is just a way in which you can have and create. That's the other thing. You can create monsters using this. It's a good base for things that aren't in the monster manual, and I think in general a very handy tool. You could sort of see here, once you get to 2 attacks, average is 6, or I've sort of broken it up in 6 and 6. So say if it hits twice, it's going to be closer to 12. and averages 6 to 24. And the way I did this was took between, not every CR has a great amount, especially as you get higher, has a great amount of monsters in it. But basically what I did was took between 10 and I think maybe minimum like 5 for some of the crazy higher levels of the monsters, and just averaged out their stats, and this is literally what it is. It's something I do too, which because I like to put logic in things. If you're going to have a say a level 10 monster, and it's a monster who's like big and beefy, some sort of giant thing, you're probably going to maybe go closer to the 200 in hit points. Whereas if you have something that is, frail, maybe uses magic to get around, you're maybe going to go closer to the 100. And sort of in general, that's a sort of theory that I work under, that once you sort of figure this thing out a little bit, once you get good at it, you could follow a logic, basically, that has things like this make sense, believe it or not. And I think that's it for the main subject. What do we have when D&D CR? Lots of tables. Yeah, D&D CR, probably not the most visually exciting thing. So what's this one here? Okay, so this has to do with XP. Experience points behind. I don't use XP. I do, which would call it not XP. Moving on to pushing a button. Wow, Rusty. Shackleford. Don't need it's a adult gold dragon. I like gold. That's my gold member impression. Okay, so yes, working through the gold dragons. I assume episode 10, although I don't really remember because, to be honest, from my perspective, I recorded it a little while ago, was some sort of adult dragon of some sort. But what do we have here? Amphibious, interesting. Legendary resistances, bite claw, frightful presence, pretty standard. Breath weapon. Oh, 2 different ones. Fire, standard. Weakening. What is a weakening one? A little bit interesting. The dragon exhales gas in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in the area, 21 strength. We're of disadvantage on strength-based attack rolls, strength checks, so it makes you a little weaker. Repeat the saving throws. Are the saving throws made with disadvantage? I guess they would be, so it's going to be hard to... Wait, yes, strength throws... Huh. Yeah, okay, so that's going to be hard to get out of that. If your saving throws are rolled with disadvantage, and this is a strength-based saving throw to get out of, you're going to be crawling around like a weak little baby, probably, for a minute. Change shape, quite often one. Detect. That's an interesting, if boring, legendary action. And wing attack. Okay, so gold dragon. Out of the way places. Dragon glimpses the future, so that has advantage on attack rolls until initiative round 20 on the next round. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know if I've seen that one before. Regional effects. So this is if the dragon lives in your area, things you got to watch out for will affect the sale of your home, no doubt. Gems and pearls with 1 mile of the dragon's lair sparkle and gleam. So that's pretty exciting if you've got lots of gems and pearls and such. So could you carry around a pearl looking for a gold dragon? I suppose you could. The most powerful and majestic are dedicated foes of evil. Foes of evil, because they are good. Devourer of wealth. Yeah, I think we've seen this before. Gold dragons eats just about anything, but preferred diet consists of pearls and gems. Now, this begs the question. What does a gold dragon's poop look like? We'll have to assume, as far as poops go, it's going to be a nice one. Reserve shapeshifters, shape shitters as well. Master hoarders, Okay, so rating-wise, gold's a fun dragon. And just in terms of, gold is, beautiful. And if you have any members of your party that are sort of, which is not unusual, who really want to get wealth, want to get gold, maybe tease them with this. And then as they're sort of reaching for the gold, a giant dragon comes out and is like, okay, what the hell? This is my goal. You know. So rating-wise, I think I'll go with solid 4.2 for a gold dragon. Huh. Yeah. I like this, like real, like a real shiny one. Okay, let's move on to closing windows we don't need for Antilife Shell. Excuse me. See, get to see me choke to death, which, if this was any other D&D related YouTube channel, those sorts of things would be edited out, so you're welcome. A shimmering barrier extends out from you in a 10-foot radius and moves with you, remaining centered on you and hedging out creatures other than undead and constructs. Oh, the life part. The barrier lasts for the duration. The barrier prevents an affected creature from passing or reaching through. An affected creature can cast spells or make attacks with ranged or reach weapons through the barrier. How long does this last? Is it, concentration? Up to an hour. And the good thing about this, too, is concentration on spells can be broken when you take damage, but when you're in this shell, it's going to be not impossible, obviously, but more difficult than it would be otherwise for you to take damage, so that concentration has the potential to last for that full hour. If you move so that an infected creature is forced to pass through the barrier, the spell ends. Yeah, that's interesting. You know what? I wonder if you could do this as a DM, and this is a sneaky thing that would be mean, and I don't think I would do, but I've just come up with it. Put like a little mouse around with a high DC for to notice. That's in the path that it's walking. So then it walks into the path, and then this mouse is suddenly in the barrier, and then the spell ends. Sneaky, mean, don't do it, but, an idea. Antilife Shell, which, what's this? Yeah, so Antilife Shell, I like it. Got a lot of cool potential, and I think when I am a magic user, I do like spells that protection buffy spells like this. Ooh, there's a cool one. So rating wise, you know what, I like this one as well. I'll probably go with solid. What did I give the dragon? 4.2. We'll go 4.1 because the dragon is cooler than this spell. Moving on to
arrived at your destination.
We sure have. Boy. Adaerglast. Adaerglast. This name. Adaerglast, also known as the Land of Mages, was a coastal region in the west of border kingdoms. Its coastline was sometimes known as the Garden Coast. Ooh, New Jersey, isn't that the Garden State? I could be wrong. Because it was one of the most fertile areas of farmland in Faerûn. Yes. Okay, so government enforced monarchy, ruler, a couple of different rulers. Alright, so, sounds interesting. Anything where mages are getting involved opens up the potential to a region, I feel like, because really anything could happen at that point. The badge is basket full of red fruit. Okay, well that's weird. Rating-wise, first of all, for whatever this is, this weird sweater thing, that's getting a 1. I don't care for it, Rose Gal. Yeah, get rid of it. Now for Adaerglast, jeez, can I give everything? You know what? I'm gonna give this a 4.15. Right in between the dragon and the spell. I don't plan the ratings, as is obvious. Nothing really on this thing is planned, but I do it all in one take. There's that. Probably be better if I didn't, but that would be difficult. And as I like to say to all the kids watching out there, if work is hard, don't do it. Moving on to
Arrived at your destination.
scenario. Yes, if you are unfamiliar, if you are hopping in on episode 11, first of all, welcome. Second of all, I take the three things and jam them together into some sort of scenario that you could perhaps use in your campaign, use in your backstory, use for inspiration of some sort. Adaerglast was ruled by wizards Iraun and Srivven. Oh yeah, we saw that back in the location wiki there. Who invaded people's dreams with the idea that they should be in charge. Interesting. Oh yeah, there was some talk of dream weaving type mages in the spiel back there. All well and good, but they inadvertently targeted an adult gold dragon who was none too pleased to have its solitude interrupted. When the dragon attacked the wizards, he was foiled by their combined Antilife Shell. He brought out the big guns and sent them both to a dream plane of his own creation, thus fighting fire with fire. Yeah, I believe the gold dragon has powers that give him access to dreams, which is sort of interesting. Or, oh yeah, yeah. So when I first saw Land of Mages, an idea immediately popped into my head. However, then I sort of read more into it, and it's actually only two mages. Which, can you really call a land the Land of Mages when there's only two? I would argue no. So this is what I originally came up with. Ego, the living planet, which is from Marvel, spawned an equally living asteroid that hurtled toward Faerûn. An adult gold dragon has a lair action to see into the future. We did mention that. And saw that the asteroid was going to destroy his lair in Adaerglast, aka Land of Mages. I'm with you so far. He then realized a wall of mages that are simultaneously casting Antilife Shield could repel it like some sort of pinging ball of a PONGing paddle. He needs the party's help to organize this, though. So, yeah, a picture, if you will. An entire wall of mages standing on each other's shoulder. Maybe levitation's involved, or some sort of. Oh yeah, I think we actually have it here. So this is what the party needs to do, and this is something I like to do in general. This here, the idea of a skill, a task that needs to be completed. Using each and every one of the abilities. Sometimes it's hard to do, and I bet you there's some in here which I haven't read this since I wrote it a couple of weeks ago, so we'll see. But sometimes that's hard to do. We'll see how I did. Wisdom. The wisdom to realize that the idea is so crazy it just might work. Bit of a cop-out there, I would say. Charisma, convincing enough mages to work together. That one's pretty straightforward. Intelligence, figuring out the best angle to repel the living asteroid. Okay. And then if you get that wrong, it could have consequences. Maybe it bounces off into a town and destroys a town, or maybe the angle is the other way, and some of the mages are killed because it crushes them, despite the shell, or they're buried underground as it pushes them underground. Ideas there. Constitution, cutting down enough lumber in time to make, scaffolding for the mages to stand upon. Strength, maneuvering the logs, lumber into place. Dexterity, jumping out of the way of the debris when the plan fails. Alright, another bit of a cop-out there. But that's more... Okay, let's say this is more to get across that idea of using each of the ability scores for a crazy task like this. Use that for your own scenario. Why don't you? Moving on to... That sad sound is particularly apt As viewer is still in quotes here because I haven't had any questions from the Underdark below in the first 5 episodes. I did have that two now, actually, now that I think about it, both from the same guy. Appreciate that. Oh, you know what? I should have got his name. I think it was Mini Wheats 93, it was something like that. Two nice comments on previous videos, but still no questions that I could take from down below, which, too bad, so sad. So I've taken this from a Facebook D&D group until such time as I can do that. Oh well, poop happens. Okay, so how do I make a werewolf, big bad evil guy, or BBEG, as you will often see, more powerful? Notes its stats in D&D Beyond and saw suggestions of raising HP and AC. We're all in good, but stuff that allows to use things other than Dragon or Elixir Beholder. Yeah. Okay, so quite often, and I think I've seen similar questions before, people will say, uh, uh, my players came across this big bad monster I had planned for them, and it just destroyed it, like easily, like in a round. How do I make it more powerful? And quite often I see the suggestion of raising its hit points or raising its AC, its armor class. Those will work to some degree, but they're kind of boring. And you can do them in conjunction with other things, which is what I would definitely recommend. So what exactly did I say here? So this is just an example of what I'm talking about. But basically what I mean is give your it's funny, and I've done this a lot over the years. But then Matt Colville put out a video from my perspective a couple of weeks ago, or like maybe a month ago, about this very thing. So I thought it was kind of funny watching that video, I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, maybe I am good at this because that's something I do. So that made me feel good. So what I mean is, you don't have to, unless you're playing in a very strict set of rules like an adventure league or even a homebrew where you've worked with your players that they know everything's going to be rules is written 100% of the time. That's a way to go. That's one way people can go and they can have fun and they can do it that way. It's just it feels limiting. Well, it is by definition limiting because you're limiting options, just sort of period. So if you take your monsters and give them these abilities that are not written down anywhere, you come up with them out of your head. I think it can make for much more exciting bad guys. Not least of which because if you're playing with players who know all the bad guys and their abilities from the monster manual, for example, and then one comes along that is different from that, they're not going to know what to expect. Which is something I lay out in. This is something you should do if you're going to do this sort of thing. Is lay this out in session 0. Lay this out before you start playing. That tell your players that they're going to come across bad guys that will look and feel similar to ones that they've probably dealt with in the past, but they will have abilities and perhaps stats that will not match what's in the monster manual. Like I do lay that out. I don't surprise players in that regard, but I will surprise them with things like this. Segue. So my idea for this werewolf one in particular, just to sort of give an example, give him the spell Moonbeam, and at first it just works as normal, but once the PCs get a few hits on him, he oddly moves it onto himself, and poop gets crazy. Trying not to swear, although I believe I already did once. He grows one size with the enlarge reduce spell. His HP is regenerated while in the area of effect, and give him a fear-inducing howl with a recharge of 6. So, when the moonbeam is not on him, the ranged PCs have to worry about that, and when it is on him, the melee PCs are going to have a tough time staying in melee range. So really, and this is another sort of thing I like to do, it changes the battlefield, things that affect the field of battle, not just things that affect the players, not just things that affect the bad guys, but things that sort of change where you're going to want to be, where you're going to want to stand, things that force players to move, things like that I think are very important to up difficulty, make things more interesting, and in general, have more fun.
It's done!
It sure is, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Damn, that was an episode, was it not? I don't know if it was a good one. I'm still sort of figuring this thing out. One thing I will say that I don't think I said at the top, and maybe I'm not supposed to, it's that I don't like to ask for the typical, you know, like, subscribe, and such. So instead, I bribe for it by letting you know if you like, subscribe, and we sort of get more and more of that sort of thing in this channel at certain milestones of subscribers, 100 being the first, which we're already at 31, third of the way there. I will be donating to this lovely organization, TakeThis.org. They deal with mental health issues and are sort of intertwined with the gaming community, which, needless to say, is something that I have a very strong feeling towards for personal reasons. And also just because it's a good cause. So, you know, that's what I am saying. That's basically... Oh, wait, here's something I remember. I was supposed to say at the end, not having looked up my notes like a real unprofessional guy. If you don't subscribe, click a few buttons, you're basically a non-D&D style monster, because then the charity won't get money. It still will, but, you know, what does it hurt? What does it hurt indeed? Folks, we did it. We did it, I suppose. That leaves one final thing to say, which is always the final thing to say, which is, it's nice to be nice to the nice.